Hello, and welcome to APS Stamp Chat. I'm Scott English, Executive Director of the American Philatelic Society. Joining me is Irv Osterer, presenting on Christmas mail art and postmarks. Stamp Chats are made possible through the support of APS members and the Mighty Buck Club. If you want to learn more about APS membership or the Mighty Buck Club, please visit our website at stamps.org. For those watching live, your microphone and camera are disabled during the presentation. You can use the chat section to share with fellow attendees. Please submit your questions in the Q&A box, and we will get to your questions following the presentation. It's my pleasure to introduce our presenter, who's a familiar face for us here on Stamp Chats, Mr. Irv Osterer, a regular with us here. Irv is a member of the APS, the Jewish Thematic Society, and the recipient of Society of Israel Philatelist 2020 Leslie Regal Memorial Award for Outstanding Service and Contribution to Holy Land and Israel Philately. He is a retired secondary school teacher and a member of the Society of Registered Graphic Designers of Canada. Today, we join Irv as he guides us through a brief history of Christmas mail art and postmarks and shows us how to make and service a unique piece of mail art for Christmas 2021 to send to family and friends. Thank you for being with us, Irv. It's always great to see you.
Thank you so much, Scott. Let me just see whether I can share my screen here so we can get everybody going. That okay? Scott?
Looks good to me.
All right, I just want to have that before we start. So, well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining. This is a talk about Christmas mail art. I have a number of things that I'm going to show. I have stamps, I have covers. Please bear with me that I'm going to be looking at a lot of this through an art teacher's lens. I'm really intrigued by the whole visual aspect of these things. So before we start, I just wanted to show you that we're in the festive season here in Ottawa, Canada. This is the view across the street from our home. We have quite a bit of snow already. And so people that are celebrating the Christmas season are excited that we're going to have a white one this year. Well, in terms of Christmas stamps, it's interesting. Canada has been sort of something of a trendsetter with it, and this is one of my favorite Canadian stamps. It's a late 19th century stamp. It's engraved. It's horizontal. It has a multicolored map of the British Empire. And at that point in time, when people were producing stamps, having them with one or two colors was somewhat of a rarity, and because the technology at that time wasn't really conducive to proper registration, this particular stamp, there are people just collect it and all the different varieties of it. And the people that collect Christmas stamps say that this is the first one. I've read a number of different opinions on it, and the consensus is that this was the first Christmas stamp ever issued. See, it says Xmas 1898, and on the bottom, you know, the moniker that we hold a vaster empire than has been. Denmark also had a little bit of a Christmas entry in 1904. And I just wanted to show you this one as well. It's not a stamp per se, but it was used on envelopes with regular postage stamps, and it was used as a charity seal. So I guess what would happen is you would buy these things, and the money would go to a charity, and then people would know that when you use them on the cards. The Leicester postmark might be the first of its kind. Somebody's we had limited abilities to do a lot of design work with metal hand stamps at that point in time. So some clever individual was able to take a large capital X and put it in between 19 and 08 and put the type MAS at the bottom and make a really lovely hand stamp. On the right, you see an Australian stamp, and even stamp collectors, even from the earliest times, were trying to get mail that was postmarked on Christmas Day. Here's one here from 1923 in Australia. There's no commemorative Christmas postmark on it, but the date certainly ties it into anybody that's collecting this topic. A lot of people consider this Hungarian set the first real Christmas stamps because they're the ones that have religious iconography. And so this is a set of 3 in 1943. Today, what post offices are doing today is they're issuing stamps that there's usually one dedicated to a religious theme, but there are also secular Christmas stamps as well, because people celebrate the season this year. I turn my attention now to Austria. This is 1937, going back a bit. I love old engraved stamps, and these 2 stamps were issued for Christmas mail and New Year's cards by the Austrian government just before the Second World War. Tied with a nice postmark on it as well. And the reason I'm using Austria as a sample is that there's a tiny place in here. You see the map. The closest large city is called Steyr, but there's a place where the red dot is called Christkindl. And Christkindl is an amazing place that certainly services the tourist industry and the Christmas industry with fairs and presents, but it also has a post office, and since 1950, I believe, they have been postmarking their mail with beautiful commemorative Christmas postmarks. And to be honest, this is really what got me interested in it. When I was a youngster collecting stamps, I came across one of these covers, and I started looking into them more and more. And I have some of them for you. In 1970, they sort of had an anniversary cover. The reason there was a Christmas miracle associated with the church there. And a man in the late 1600s prayed to a small Christ child figure that he brought to the church, and it's believed that he was cured of epilepsy, and so people started flocking to this place, and a Baroque church was built afterwards, and you see all the different postmarks that have evolved. Now, these aren't particularly well reproduced. I have better ones, but the one that you're seeing, the 1970 one that you see in this illustration, is fairly representative. In art, we like to say sometimes less is more, and these things are wonderful. They're just so well designed with the simplest of lines, and I'll go through a series of them just so that you can look at them and appreciate them. The focus isn't quite as good on this one because of the image that I had to take it from. And I want you to see, this one's 1953, and as time goes on and technology improves, people are able to do more and more things with the postmarks. This is a lovely one from 1958, and if you look closely at the stamp and you look closely at the postmark, you'll see that the church is reproduced in the postmark, which I thought was really cool. Here's another one from 1960. So the artists are trying to thematically tie into whatever Christmas stamp the Austrian post office is releasing. They really were quite good about doing these things almost without interruption, except for the Second World War. (1973). Again, real simplicity of line, but very, very powerful images. And you can see as we hit 1978, what's happening is the artists have got more freedom. So this was probably originally a line drawing that was photographed and reproduced. Yeah, the typography is certainly a little cleaner, but the composition's quite nice, probably inspired by a work of art in the gallery there. So take a close look at this painting that was reproduced on a 1979 stamp from Austria. And I thought it was really clever that the artist that was commissioned to design the postmark, he used the Mary figure and the Christ child. You see them, they mirror each other. And I think it really is effective. Again, all the postmarks have got a Christmas theme tying into the nativity story. This one is to A Christmas Carol. And this is 1996. They're still, if you're diligent enough to, send your mail to Austria and get the proper postage on it, and you can send your mail to Christkindl, and they will postmark your mail and send it back to you. Another one with the church. And these are more contemporary ones. And you can see that the stamping device is now far more sophisticated, where you're getting really clean lines and clean resolution, much like the first day cover postmarks that we see today that are done by the United States Post Office and Canada Post. So if you do collect this topic, these are lovely souvenirs. I don't think they're terribly expensive to come across. And I thought I'd show you a few international examples of Christmas cancels. Remember, these are not first day cover cancels. These are just dedicated to the Christmas season. And I would imagine that they're done for probably the middle of November till the end of December in wherever you are. So this one is in Australia. This one's in Finland. These are two different ones in Finland that were used. The Royal Mail, I put the first two Christmas stamps that were issued by England in 1966. So there's a couple of postmarks that were used by the Royal Mail. And the one on the right, it says Reindeer Land, postage paid from 1963. A lot of countries have got a program that encouraged kids to write to Santa Claus. And I know we have one here in Canada. I believe there's one in the United States. This is the one that's in England. And the children write in school and they send these things out. And they each get a letter back. I know the postal code from the one in Canada is HOH. So people have some fun with it here too. I thought this was interesting to show that the Palestinian Authority is also postmarking mail in December with a special Bethlehem postmark. You can see that they probably listed, these are the only samples that I could find, but they would make great pieces for any collection. And Israel does the same thing. And this is an envelope that's specially designed. It's not a first day cover. It's designed just for Christmas. This is a label, and you see that it says Christmas, and it says Noel. And in Hebrew, it says Chag HaMolad, which means the holiday of the birth. So now we switch to the United States and have a look at some things here. And the early Christmas mail looks like this. You see some postmarks that are dedicated to mailing early for the holiday. And they're just simple postmarks. Actually, the typography on the old ones is quite interesting. And this one from the the USS Texas. There were seasonal postmarks from a variety of different sources. I was able to find a picture of the ship. This was just now 105 years old. I believe it's a museum, and the postmark says "Merry Christmas" on it. Here's one from Good Hope, and this is beginning a trend in the United States where even though there were no formal Christmas stamps, people started sending Christmas cards, and this caught on, and people thought it might be a fun idea to get postmarks from places that would be affiliated with the holiday. This is an example of that. And almost like it was sort of like in Europe as well, like as Christkindl served Austria and Christmas mail there, places like Knoll, Missouri, people started sending their Christmas cards to Knoll, Missouri. And you see they have this little red hand stamp beside it, but the postmark itself is plain and simple. But again, it does the job. Here's another one from Bethlehem, New Hampshire. Just a regular postmark, but you see my sign and my type on there says that more than 1 million pieces of holiday mail since 1960 have been sent to Bethlehem, New Hampshire for that postmark. And in 1962, the United States issued their first Christmas stamp. This is it here. It's a beautiful engraved stamp. I wanted to show you a few of these things before we get a little deeper into this, because this is attractive. As a graphic designer, I appreciate all the work on it, but not all the Christmas covers that you'll see are actually postally serviced. And some have no philatelic value, certainly have aesthetic value, but they don't have philatelic value at all. With today's technology, it's really quite easy to make aesthetically pleasing, convincing postmarks and Christmas mail. So this is done by for a commercial purpose. The stamp isn't real, but it mimics the mail art Christmas theme. And here's another one that was used by a design agency. Again, very, very well done. The postmarks are very convincing, but these are not. And again, if you want to include these in a collection, I think that's fine. But I think that everybody should be aware that these things are out there, and there are lots of them. You can see that these things are available online very, very easily from craft places that sell them. And there's a whole variety of these things that are very inexpensive to buy. And you can make them yourself as well. It's nothing to make a file and throw it through an inkjet printer and get something like this to come up. So I was going to show you a few of these things over the years that have. This one's from Santa Claus, Indiana, and Santa Claus, Indiana is an actual place that and here is a first day cover for the stamp, but they've attached Christmas seals to it as well. But I wanted to show you the Santa Claus postmark because Santa Claus, Indiana is sort of what we're talking about. So this is their advert for this year, America's Christmas Hometown, and they have something called Santa Claus Station. And what they do is they get a high school involved, and they have artwork done. They pick one of them, and they postmark their Christmas mail every year with a postmark that they make up with a Santa Claus theme. So this one's the 2014 one. Here's 2018. Again, these aren't first day covers, but when you have a Santa Claus stamp, this is the USA Forever stamp for that year. It ties it in really closely together, really makes a great souvenir. And if any of you are interested, this is what the 2021 Santa Claus Station postmark looks like. Now, this is just a sketch. I I'm assuming they're going to clean it up a tiny bit to make it all happen. And if you want, you can take a screen capture of this, and you can send Christmas mail to Santa Claus, Indiana, and ask for this postmark. You have to have the perimeters are for stamp collectors are not hard to understand. You have to have something you can mail, obviously, and you don't have to put a Christmas stamp on it, but you do have to put valid postage on it, and you have to make sure that that you package it properly so that they receive it in good shape and can get it back to you. And it's really cool that there's no charge for postmarking. They say that there's a limit for 50 picture postmarks, and these are all hand canceled, so these are not machine canceled. And there are other places in the United States. I'll give you a more definitive list, but I picked a few of them out to have some fun with. Again, if you were designing Christmas mail art and you're doing it for Rudolph, the cover sort of designs itself. And here's another one from Rudolph, Ohio. We don't have station postmarks in Canada per se, but in the United States, you can make arrangements for any for a charitable cause, for a particular celebration. This is in Plymouth, Vermont, so Plymouth, Vermont doesn't have per se a connection to Christmas, but they created a holiday station post office with the United States Postal Services. I'm sorry, and they put this together, and I believe for about a 2-week to 3-week period, they were able to postmark this mail. Sometimes these things are set up in shopping centers, places of high volume, so people can mail postcards and Christmas mail out. Here's another one from Holiday Station in Joy, Illinois, 2018. So you can see that the artistic level depends on who is doing these things. If, for instance, you're giving the job to an elementary school child to do, then the idea would be that you wouldn't clean it all up, and you would try to preserve the integrity of the original drawing. And I believe this is what they've done with this one. And here's another one from Saratoga Springs. The artwork on the cover is really quite nice. And again, Saratoga Springs Station. So they're doing this because they have something called the Victorian Street Walk every year. These are just samples. There are places like this all over the United States that do similar things. Here's one from Jefferson City, Missouri, and it's this holiday station. So again, I would imagine that these would probably have been set up in a high volume shopping place that people could send their mail out. Which brings us to Canada. And you see I have our flag. The 2 first Christmas stamps, even though we issued the first Christmas stamp in 1898, it took until 1964 to revisit the theme. And these again are beautiful, beautiful engraved stamps. They're small. And I put the sign for Christmas Island, Nova Scotia, there for you to look at. Christmas Island, if you take a look, those who are familiar with the Maritimes of our country, you can see Prince Edward Island. To the left is New Brunswick. You see Nova Scotia. Halifax is my wife's favorite city outside of Ottawa. And Christmas Island is the little red dot on Cape Breton Island, which is quite a scenic place to drive and visit. And Christmas Island has the distinction of bearing a special Christmas postmark. And like in the United States, when it was called Christmas Island, so people tended, when they had Christmas cards, they tended to send them to Christmas Island for postmarking, even before they moved into this in a big way. And I'll show you how this all works. So this is 1953, and clearly the person that put this together is sending a Christmas greeting to a family member and creating a Christmas cover. the Christmas Island people postmarked it on December 25th for him. But there is no commemorative postmark on this envelope per se. It's just a circle stamp. But as we go on, here's 1958, which is sort of like a registered, an old registered postmark. Still no commemorative stamp. And here's one from 1967. But in 1994, people got the idea that it might be fun to commission somebody to do some artwork and perhaps give a try at the Christmas Island, giving Christmas Island a distinct postmark for the holiday season. And this is the introductory artwork. It was later retooled, and in magazines in Canada and sometimes in the stamp places and sometimes in newspapers, you would see this ad looking for a little extra cheer. And this is one that's from 2010, and it tells you to send your Christmas cards to Christmas Island Post Office, and they will postmark it in black, red, or green. So these are amongst the first ones with commemorative postmarks on them. And the same thing is happening in Canada, happened in the US. You're looking at an issue of technology and stamps, and all of the idea is really, really good here. It really lacks resolution, but you can see that it's on the way. And as we hit 2005, it is a lot better. And you can see that this postmark in red and in green on this beautiful envelope. They usually do this. I think they may do it all year at Christmas Island. But here I can show you a little bit better the artwork up close. So this is a 2005 and a 2013, and you can already see that the difference between the two of these things in a 10-year period. And these are the most current ones. The 2018 postmark that I'm showing here is from an envelope that I had serviced, that I've scanned the rubber stamp. And on the right, this is the one that they're using now. And you can see it's clean. This is the artwork, the line artwork for the postmark itself that's advertised by Canada Post. You can actually check out Canada Post's website. They have listing for all their pictorial postmarks. But this one's really cool. And I really like the design that they did on this. And I was particularly intrigued by the fact that they used a candy cane as a design element in this. And I thought that I would take advantage of that. I wanted to show you some samples that I had done in school. I think Scott mentioned that I was a high school teacher for a while. I always did mail art projects for Christmas and for Valentine's Day. And I just wanted to show you some of these things. This one was done on an envelope. Actually, the artwork was done right on an envelope. I like Prismacolor pencil crayon, and we used markers too. And this is what the envelope looked like when it was all serviced. This is Anna, one of my really, really great graphic design students. And this is the following year. So marker and Prismacolor pencil crayon. The reason I use Prismacolor pencil crayon and marker is that if you use water-based media, the envelopes tend to be compromised. So I usually stick to those things. Sometimes, and I'll show you as I get down towards the end of these, you can do other things. This one again is pencil crayon. And this one, I always try to involve the community with this. And Thomas Baribeau, who's the manager of the DeSerres franchise here in Ottawa, this is where my school was buying most of its art supplies. He called the school and said, we really want a Christmas card for our store. Thomas is great to all the schools in our system. He's very, very supportive. And he came to the school and he gave this young lady, Sabatu, a gift card. And he used her design for the postcards that were sent in from his DeSerres store. And this is another one like that was done. And it was done by Mina. Mina put her things together. And the counselor, our regional counselor, also asked for something that he could use on his mail and for cards. And he did the same. He brought a gift certificate and he came and picked up the artwork at school. And it's really good to involve the community in these kinds of projects. If you have a chance, if any of you are teachers and you can do that, I'd really strongly encourage you to do it. We had somebody who was a big car enthusiast, so Santa's driving a car here. And then I checked, I put these together so you could see them in slides. These are postcards. And I just reversed them. So what I did, we did them all on one sheet and then we scored them in half and glued them. So you can see. So this one actually was with Prismacolor pencil crayon. This one is using a technique called digital ink and fill, where the drawing was done in black and white, and then the areas inside closed spaces can be highlighted and filled. This one was using the software Procreate. A lot of the kids now are using tablets and iPads, and Procreate is their software of choice. So when a couple of them came to me and asked me if they could use Procreate to do their things, so I said, fine. This is another one. And you can see that the young lady that did this one is on her way to art school. She's very, very good. And this one is actually using, if anybody remembers Zap Thingbats and picture fonts and printer's flowers, this one was done where all the students only had these things to use. They couldn't use anything else. And I thought Petra did a fantastic job with this. And in this particular case, the envelope was printed on the inkjet printer. So it was printed right through on the inkjet printer by itself. So it is possible to do this. Not easy all the time, but certainly with a little bit of work, you can get it done. So now I want to try to get you involved with a project. And the materials that are needed for the project, and I had this listed. Christmas card envelopes tend to be bigger, so I think those are great. The candy canes come in all different shapes and sizes. I use the mini ones because you can get more of them on an envelope. Spray paint or a toothbrush, red, green, gold, black acrylic paint or ink, Sharpie type markers, pencil crayons. I love Prismacolor pencil crayons because I think they're great. So I always use those in class and I encourage people to buy them. I think they're terrific. Stickers, stars, dots, anything else. And loads of newspaper to cover your work area, folks, because you really do need that. Make sure that it's all done. So I just showing you that when you go to buy the envelopes, Christmas card envelopes are bigger. So, they work usually. I was able to buy, if those of you that want to buy envelopes, Thomas at Desairs had these for sale, but I'm sure that any of the Staples outlets or whatever you have in the United States that's comparable to Staples here, 6x9 envelopes will be suitable as well. These are samples of the paint. Nothing is definitive. If you have other pencil crayons other than Prismacolor, you don't need Equaline ink or American acrylic paint or Sharpie markers, but these are ones that I've used successfully, and I thought I would make these available to you on a slide so that you can have a look at them. And here's the candy canes. My wife went to our regional dollar store and she was able to buy these, and fairly inexpensive. Some stickers, some spray paint. I used this kind of spray paint. It's interesting, spray paint now is coming in a format that is more conducive for making art because of people like Banksy. So you can get cans of spray paint that will spray really fine lines and ones that would spread a larger area. You probably want the larger area ones. Thomas is demonstrating, the safe approach to it. You see, it's a really good thing to be wearing a mask. Do this all in a well-ventilated area and even outside if you can still. That's not an option here, but and you can see that he's got this Desairs plastic paper that he would be spraying everything on so that none of the surfaces would be compromised by it. And if you're doing this thing with kids, they have to be well supervised as well. Always shake your cans thoroughly before you use them, because if you don't, they tend to splatter. So here's our mini candy canes. So we took the plastic off of them, and you can see one of the aesthetic beautiful parts of it is that that they're not perfect. What I would do is pick the candy canes that have the most negative area showing. So in other words, any of the ones that have a closed cane, like the one on the right, they won't be as good. But the ones that are open, that really you see that sort of U shape, those tend to work the best for this. And here I am. I've positioned my candy canes on an envelope very, very carefully. And here I am with the spray paint. So you see that I'm very gradually starting to spray. Now, in my right hand, I confess to all of you that I'm left-handed. In my right hand, I have a piece of paper that I hold and I move. And if I do that, I won't get a straight line on the surface. So this is sort of what happens when it's done. And then you very, very carefully take the candy canes off. The spray paint dries relatively quickly. You can buy spray paint that's oil-based, and you can also buy it acrylic-based. Probably the acrylic-based stuff is a little bit easier to use and clean up. But you can also see from the paper that the impression isn't perfect, which is really what you want. You want the imperfection, the hazing a little bit. And this is what the envelope looks like when it's all done. And after it's done, what I do is I take either a high-tech pen or a Sharpie marker, and I articulate the shape of the candy cane. So I've done that, and you don't have to worry about making these perfect. They don't have to be perfect. As a matter of fact, I'd encourage you not to make them perfect. More variety is what you want in this. And then afterwards, I go in with my Prismacolor pencil crayon. I take a look at the individual candy canes, and I try to lay in the pattern on the envelope. So there's the red pattern laid in on the envelope. You can be more abstract with this if you want. I tried it both ways. And there you see the green coming in. And you can see right away that the envelope starts coming alive with the green. Why is that? Because complementary colors glow. So complementary color theory, red and green, are opposites on the color wheel. So it's a perfect match. So here's what the envelope looks like now with the pencil crayon all done. And now I use some green dots. Again, you can see the glow on them already. And I put some stars. And there's my finished envelope. And what I've done is I haven't set this out yet, obviously, but I've mocked up what it would look like coming back from Canada Post on Christmas Island. And I used a label. You can write the stuff by hand, but this is obviously going to the APS. I'm afraid the postage isn't enough, but for these purposes, and for demonstration purposes, it is. So Scott, I'm sorry about that, but you see how it works and how aesthetically pleasing the whole thing is. If you find that a little bit more paint has migrated to the right, you can take a piece of masking tape and sort of rub it over and take a little bit of it off. So I'm going to show you another one. This is with the green. Same process. You see that I've got the piece of paper with my right hand and I'm moving it. If I don't move it, I will have a straight line. And there it is. And there's the finished envelope. And you see that I use the red dots in position there rather than the green ones because, again, the red is the complementary color. And it just gives the envelope lots of bounce. It looks great. This is what it actually looks like when I scan it. And there's the postmark on it as well. And I tried the gold one just to see what it would look like. I had some gold spray paint. So here's the gold. And this is what it looks like with gold and with a postmark on it. Now, some people are uncomfortable using spray paint. I get it. If you're strictly using, you're working with small kids, it's a bit problematic as well. So I asked my wife to help me with this, and she took a toothbrush and dipped it in ink, and you can see the splatter pattern forming on the candy canes with the toothbrush. Now, you have to be patient with this. You really have to build it up. And you just have to keep dipping and flicking. And again, you have to move the paper. If you don't move the paper, you'll have a straight line. That being said, if you want to have a straight line, and in this particular case, we did, you just leave the paper in the same place and it'll reproduce as a straight line. So it's hard to get photographs of this, you know, up front. The ink all washes off. But you can see if you really take time, I don't want to give anybody the impression that every envelope you're going to do, you're going to be happy with. There is a serendipitous quality to this. There's no question that there is. So you may end up throwing out a few because you're not happy with them. But every one that you do, you'll learn a little bit more and you'll be able to control a little bit more. So this one in particular turned out just beautiful. This is with red and green splattering with the toothbrush. And the same approach with the high-tech pen afterwards to outline the contours of the candy cane. And in this particular case, to bring out the shapes of the candy cane, I just used a regular yellow highlighter and put it in behind. So that's what the cover ends up looking like. And it's every bit as nice as any of the sprayed ones. Perhaps aesthetically pleasing, maybe even more so. And there's what it looks like with the postmark and the stamp in place. So how do you get a holiday postmark on your Christmas cards? Well, I'll leave this up for a second. Make a screen capture of this, please. This is not a definitive list. There are more places, but these places you can be fairly certain that when you send them, you have to get, I guess, one of the forever Christmas stamps, put it on an envelope and put it inside another envelope, send it to the postmaster. You have to send a letter to the postmaster requesting the Christmas cancel. And I would do that, and I would be very nice to him or her and thank them. Not all of these places have definitive commemorative postmarks. So in other words, we've seen that Santa Claus, Indiana has one, but Jerusalem, Arizona may not have one, but you will get a Jerusalem postmark on the envelope. And for people that are collecting this thematically, that's what's most important. You can see that there are 4 places named Bethlehem, but only one place named Chestnut. But there are more. There are definitely more of these places. If you get into an atlas, and well, I'm pretty sure the APS probably has a resource that you can attack that would give you a definitive list of all of these things. But I thought that I would show you these for now. And the United States Postal Services has a bulletin that they issue with listing postmarks, and the December one may have more. And as I told you before, people arrange these station postmarks, and it might be for a special occasion. All of these names have got an affiliation with the holiday, whereas, as we saw before, Plymouth, Vermont did not, but still has a really, really beautiful Christmas postmark. In Canada, really, Christmas Island is the place to go. This is what the postmark is going to look like this year. I know it says 2020 on it, but they've retained the same one. You can request a red one or a green one. And if you want to look at more pictorial cancels from Canada Post, that website will take you there. Again, if you want to take a screen grab of this, I guess the next one that's coming that might be of interest to people is February 2nd, which is Groundhog Day. They have a place in Ontario called Wyerton that has Wyerton Willie, which is sort of our equivalent to Puxatawny Phil, and they have a really, really impressive postmark. These things are probably about 1 3/4 inches in diameter, so they're a good size, and they really look great on envelopes. So if anybody wants to look into that, they can, as well as the other ones that they have. So I want to wish everybody that's what I have to offer. I want to thank everybody for listening in. I want to wish all of you only the very best of all things this holiday season and in the new year in 2022. So that's it for me today.
Excellent. Irv, we have a question that came in through Facebook, actually. Do we have a record of who in the world has the most Christmas stamp / cover collections?
I'm afraid I wouldn't know. It's a very popular topic. It's a very popular topic. Lots of people collect the Christmas theme, and more countries now. It used to be that there were very few countries involved with it, but almost all the European countries are now issuing Christmas stamps. I even believe that Russia now issues them as well. Okay,
so for someone like me who has no artistic talent whatsoever, you're in the arts and crafts terrain, and some of the things that you showed us were what I would consider to be my speed. That is pretty low skill required. What suggestions do you have for folks who aren't as artistically inclined as you are in terms of creating covers and making them interesting and pop a little bit? I like the presentation you did on that, but are there other suggestions you might have?
Keeping things simple is the thing that I advise people to do. For instance, I use candy canes to do this. You can cut shapes out of black paper and do the same thing. You can buy Christmas ornaments, anything that's flat that you can lay on the envelope surface. There are Christmas ornaments in the shapes of trees, flat ones that you can get. Any of those things will work. And then have some fun coloring them in afterwards. The nice thing about using these things as stencils is that you don't have to worry about, rendering the things, and the things the thing that people have problems with is they think if they draw a tree and it doesn't look enough like a tree that they get all upset with it. Whereas if you have the template to use, you could even, theoretically, you can get small gingerbread men and do the same thing. I wouldn't suggest eating them after, but you can spray paint on top of them and do things and then take that away and the shape is there. You can also trace things, and the paper doesn't even have to be black. It just has to be something that would stop the paint from coming onto the secondary surface. I suggest that people put like a stuff or a filler card in the envelope too. That way it sort of, the integrity of the envelope won't be compromised as easily. And the other thing is, again, you have to watch for water-based media tends to be a little bit problematic. Not always, but it can be. So the less water you're using, the better it is. You can even finger paint. Like if you bought a stencil and you dipped your fingers in acrylic paint, you could sort of dip them in. And the idea that they're not perfect is what makes it so aesthetically pleasing. Keep the margin on the right clean so that you can affix the stamp. Allow for the large postmark and whichever way you want to address your envelopes, and you'll be happy with it. And not only will you be happy with it, the people at the other end are never getting these things any other way. Like this is really a surprise for them at the other end as well. I hope that helps.
Oh, very helpful. Very helpful. We did have another comment. Boy, our Facebook watchers are really adding to the conversation. We did have a comment about another, I'm going to pronounce it incorrectly first and then correctly second, Bethlehem, Maryland. and the zip code is 21609. Now, this happens to be about 10 minutes away from where I grew up. And locally it's referred to as Bethlehem, not Bethlehem, for reasons I'll never understand. But I am sharing that with folks. But one of our Facebook commenters added that to the list of towns with the similar spelling. It's still spelled the same way as Bethlehem is.
There are, I said there are more. Like
Sure.
I put on one slide what I thought, what people would be comfortable with. This is introductory. Like if the idea would be hopefully that people will look at this and get more ideas and spread them around. There's also I neglected to mention the United States Postal Service has an Anchorage, Alaska postmark too that I think kids can write to Santa Claus and it will come back to them.
So you have non-collecting friends, and do you think activities like this are the best way to get them involved or at least slightly interested in stamp collecting or cover collecting by giving them a chance to maybe invest a little bit in the product they're sending out?
Absolutely. And you have to remember that for a younger generation, I mean, the last 15, 20 years, like my kids don't get mail. They don't know anything about that. And it's not because they're bad. It's just, that's the way the world has gone. And to be able to do this, you have to give people an avenue that they can use the service and have some fun with it. Schools are great. If I tell teachers that this is a win-win project. You get the kids involved with the holiday, you get the kids involved with sending the cards, you get them involved with their community, and I guarantee you that at the other end, when people get them, that they look and they're surprised, and then that's the entry point that they can start experiencing these things. Even the fact that when you go out and buy the Christmas stamps and you bring them in and get the kids to put them on the envelopes, that sometimes it's the first time they've ever done that, and they see the artwork that's done on the envelope, and they certainly think about it. All the students that I had that did these things all had a good time doing them, and they all came and told me when their grandparents and their moms and dads got them, and they were all excited about it. So it wasn't a one-off thing. Everybody liked doing it.
Just one last question for me, which is, do you see this phenomenon happening with other holidays? I guess the reason why I asked that question is because, certainly Christmas does capture the imagination, but are there other holidays where you have similar projects that you've done on this, perhaps even a future stamp chat?
Well, I did a stamp chat last year on Valentine's Day. And just to give you an idea, like the postmaster in Love, Saskatchewan, a lovely lady, she tells me she gets thousands of envelopes every year around Valentine's Day from all over the world. Like and the people in Christmas Island, Nova Scotia, I think they process something like 3,000 to 4,000 pieces of mail. Christmas Island, Nova Scotia is a tiny little place. They process 3,000 to 4,000 pieces of mail every December. So it is popular with collectors. It's a question of getting it out. Now, I can tell you that I just had I suggested to Canada Post that they should have a Hanukkah postmark, and I wrote in about 3 years in a row, and I gave them some suggestions. And this year they took me up on it, and I actually even had a chance to design the postmark. So it came out a little late this year, but the lady at Disraeli, Quebec is now postmarking mail from, she said that she's got cards from Japan and Siberia and England and the United States already. The postmark's only out 3 weeks. And so it should catch on. And as I told you, Wyatt and Willie is coming up in Canada for Groundhog Day, but the United States Postal Services is quite good about that. There's a bulletin they put out, and they try to list the pictorial postmarks that are coming up. So I'd advise people to go to their website and take a look at it. And I also think that if anybody has any ideas, if they have organizations that have special events, the United States Postal Service is actually pretty good about helping people out with these special postal stations and to celebrate whatever cause, whatever event, it'd be worth looking into.
Excellent. Well, Irv, as always, when you do these chats, the time flies entirely too fast. And I think we could do this for another hour or so, but I know you have other things you're committed to as well as our viewers. So with that, I want to say thank you very much for this excellent presentation. For those watching, remember, if you've missed any part, please visit the APS YouTube page to watch Irv's presentation and share with your friends. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the APS YouTube page for all of our future stamp chats and other video content. If you're not a member of the APS, please join today and become a part of our stamp community. For more information, visit us at stamps.org. Thank you and goodbye.
Thanks so much.